Over the past few days, we have been exploring the Channel Islands. In the summer of 1940, as the Nazis were making their expansion through Europe, well, they ended up occupying the Channel Islands, which were British islands. And as soon as that occupation happened, there began a massive building program. I'm currently on the island of Alderney. And here, there were some Luftwaffe work crews and Army work crews that built flak batteries and things like that. But about midway through the war, well, the bunker program here on Alderney really started to ramp up. And there are bunkers all over this island. And in order to build those bunkers, well, the Nazis needed laborers. So the site where I am standing right now became where one of the most far-flung concentration camps of the Third Reich was located. Like I said, I am on the island of Alderney. And in March of 1943, well, Organization Todt arrived on this island to initiate this massive bunker program here to defend the outer fringes of the Third Reich. And there were people from 27 different nationalities, forced laborers, that were brought here to initiate the work on this bunker building program. Standing here on Alderney, we're looking at a lot of open spaces. But if we would have been here during the latter half of the Second World War, well, what we would have seen right here in this area are SS barracks. And those barracks were along a road that led to this gate right here. So again, there were forced laborers from 27 different nationalities that were brought here to Alderney to work on the bunker fortifications for the Third Reich. So this would have included like French Jews, Ukrainians, Poles, Russians, Georgians, all right, people from all over the conquered areas of the Third Reich. And here on the camp gate, there's a plaque. It says, "These gateposts mark the entrance to the former German concentration camp SS Lager Sylt. Some 400 prisoners died here between March 1943 and June 1944. This plaque was placed by ex-prisoners and their families in 2008. Now, I've been learning a little bit about this far-flung concentration camp. But we have a gentleman with us who is a historian here on the island who knows far more than I do, by the name of Colin Partridge. And he's going to kind of walk us through a little bit of the history of this labor camp.
We're standing in front of the gates to the inner compound of Lager Sylt on the west coast of Alderney. This was one of the 4 camps that was set up originally by the Organisation Todt to house the foreign labour that was brought here for building the fortifications between early 1942 and the summer of 1944. In March 1943, this camp was taken over by a full-blown sub-camp of the Neuengamme concentration camp in Jersey. And just under 1,000 labourers were brought here to work on the fortifications. During the course of that time, these workers were treated brutally, murders were carried out, and by the time the camp was dissolved in June 1944, some 656 workers left to be taken back to Germany. During this time, there were burials on the island from the various camps. I mentioned 4 camps. And when these graves were opened in 1961, some 380 bodies only were exhumed, which begs the question of how many others died, either in transit to the island or after they left. How many were buried, let us say, in unknown graves or disposed of by other means. This is part of Alderney's history, and it has to be faced up to. The workers were, of course, brought here for the sole purpose of building fortifications. This would include digging trenches, tunnelling, road building, but mainly working on fortifications. That would be excavating sites for the building of reinforced concrete bunkers. The camp routine was a pretty early rise in the morning, 6 o'clock, with a camp roll call, and then they would be marched on foot to any of the building sites that they might be working on at the time. We are just half a mile from one of the principal naval coastal artillery batteries. They certainly worked on that during 1943, but we have records of them on other sites, supervised or overseen, of course, by the SS Guards, but working for the organisation TOT on various construction projects in various parts of the island. They would be fed a very, very minimal soup, something like that, at midday on the site, and then they would be marched back in the evening to another roll call, and then I dare say a more substantial meal. By that I mean possibly a piece of cheese or a piece of sausage with some bread in addition to the familiar watery soup. So this was hard labour supervised by the SS. We have eyewitness accounts from survivors of the camp, one particularly, Otto Speer, who was a German policeman who was imprisoned for perceived offences, came to the camp here and observed various acts of brutality, including murders of prisoners. Crucifixion was certainly witnessed at the gates here, and the bodies left on the gates for the prisoners marching in and out to observe. There were hangings of prisoners in front of other prisoners, and we also know of other acts of violence, including forcing sick prisoners out of the camp through a gate in the wire and then being shot, quote, for trying to escape. And those reasons for deaths, shot trying to escape, survive in the parent camp records at Neuengamme.
As I was walking around the site here, just taking a look around, I happened to notice this bit of concrete over here, and as I'm making my way through this brush and these thorns, well, you can see a concrete slab here. We were just inside the gate to the camp, and I also want to make sure that we mention that this is not a death camp. This is a work camp. This is a labor camp, and the remnants that we are looking at right here are from the camp kitchen. So again, looking at a few of the remaining structures here next to the camp, you can see right here, right now again, looking at just a few of the remaining structures that are from the camp. If you look, you can see this white building, and right next to it, well, that is an SS guard post that was right here, just outside the gate of the camp. We've moved momentarily to a different part of the island that has this memorial that was set up by a local family known as the Hammonds. Now, originally, this monument that we're looking at right now, that's in memory of the French who died in the war from 1939 to 1945. This was the original memorial. And then the Hammond family ended up funding and building this extension that remembers all of the people who were brought here as forced laborers. So here you can see where it says, "In memory of all foreign labor who died in Alderney between the years of 1940 and 1945, they also served." And then there are individual monuments to the Soviets, to the Polish, to the Jews, to the French, okay, to the different nationalities of the people who were right here in Alderney. All right, well, that was a little bit from right here on the island of Alderney, on the site of one of the most far-flung labor camps of the Third Reich.